Hi guys, I want to go over an example of how to evaluate one of these vaccine-related articles, just because there were some folks who struggled a little bit or didn't see some important red flags. So I just thought it would be helpful to go over it for everybody to take a look at the kinds of things that you can do when you're evaluating, a resource, and maybe learn a little bit more about that. So. This is one of the articles that you guys had the option of choosing to evaluate. It's on a website called Vaccine Impact, and it's titled American College of Pediatricians Latest to Warn of Gardasil HPV Vaccine Dangers. The first thing I noticed when I scroll into this article is that there are lots of pictures of women, and then at the bottom it says young women whose lives were destroyed by Gardasil. I'm not here to say that this is or isn't true. I mean, I don't know, but one of the things I do know is that the word destroyed, lives were destroyed, is very lurid, emotional language. So that's one red flag for me. As I continue to read down, this is very, very negative on vaccines in general. When you hear gravity and severity of the damning information exposing the dangers, this is very scary language here. So that's the second thing I noticed. Excuse me, I'm a little stiffly today. I want to also make a note of Vaccine Impact is the website. Jeffrey Jackson is the reporter. So what I'm going to do is Google Jeffrey Jackson. And his website is the first thing to come up. Great. So a number of folks went to the website, went to the About page, which is great, is exactly what you should do. I noticed that, though, that a number of folks took what's written here on the About page at face value. So a researcher, investigative journalist, writer, and voice for health freedom. Well, that sounds pretty good. That makes them sound pretty reliable. One of the things that you have to do, though, is to continue to read, because remember, Jeffrey Jackson, this is his website. He's writing this for himself, to make himself sound like an authority. As soon as we read down into his writing has been featured by RT, Natural News, InfoWars, Collective Evolution, Waking Times, Greenet, MedInfo, The Truth About Cancer, and countless others. Okay, so I happen to know that RT is Russia Today and is generally considered a propaganda news site. I also happen to know that InfoWars is a conspiracy theories website, web series, podcast, and is not considered trustworthy by almost anyone. But even if you didn't know that, you would have the opportunity here to Google some of these things and evaluate whether these things are worthwhile, reputable outlets. If they're not, that throws suspicion onto Jeffrey Jackson as someone who promotes conspiracy theories. One of the things I did was took a look at The Truth About Cancer. We can go to this website. It comes up right away. And we're learning here about the truth about cancer and whether or not we think it's reliable. Well, one of the things I can see here is that these two folks, are in the menu bar here, and they clearly own and run the website. Well, then the first thing I noticed is an advertisement for enzymes and gut formula probiotics being peddled by the two people who run this website. So they're clearly here to sell me something. And you can even see that in the bar up here in products. If I click into here, I can look at some of the things that they're selling. The cancer cure deception. Okay, so this sounds like they don't believe in typical ways to treat cancer. But what's even more concerning is that they're selling a book about how essential oils can be helpful to cure your cancer, which should probably be setting off alarm bells. So here's another herbal medicine. So these people are alternative health promoters. And I'm not here to say that alternative health treatments are bad. That's not what I'm saying at all. But what I am saying is that this person clearly has an agenda. As you continue reading on, alternative health is even mentioned in his bio. So he has an agenda to push, which makes me think that Vaccine Impact is an anti-vax website. And it actually is. There are some warning signs here as well. If you do look at things like Peace with God, in the menu bar, it makes it seem like this is a politically or religiously motivated site. So all of these things for me are red flags. Okay, but the next thing I want to point out is that this article discusses the U.S. pediatricians sounding alarm on Gardasil HPV vaccine dangers, and it even has a logo here for the American College of Pediatricians. Now, the American College of Pediatricians has a very official sounding name. It sounds like an important organization. As I read more about it, however, I think it's kind of funny that they brag the college currently has members in 47 states. Well, there are 50 states in the union, and I'm pretty sure all 50 states have pediatricians in them, so they have kind of an anemic membership, actually. But that's just one thing that I noticed. So let's check out the American College of Pediatricians by going to their website here. And on their website, what you see when you first start reading it it does sound very official. A national organization dedicated to health and well-being of children, producing sound policy based on the best available research to assist parents and influence society. Well, that sounds good. They're saying, we use the best available research. Well, that's just an assertion. You can't put any trust into just somebody saying, I'm based on evidence. You have to look past that. And as we continue to read about the college, we can see, they want children to reach their optimal physical and emotional health and well-being. Well, that sounds great. To this end, we recognize the basic father-mother family union within the context of marriage to be the optimal setting for childhood development. Okay, and as you scroll down further, they recognize every human life from time of conception to natural death. So they are also an anti-abortion organization, and they're very clear about that from the beginning. And I want to make it clear again, I am not here to tell you what is right or wrong about these values. No matter how you feel about them, I'm not here to tell you what to feel about them. What I am trying to tell you is when we look into Jeffrey Jackson, we look into the American College of Pediatricians, we can see they're coming from an ideological standpoint, which makes their ultimate conclusions. We need to look into them further to decide whether we really agree or if we're being swayed by people who are dishonestly presenting, cherry-picking certain kinds of evidence in order to get us to come over to their side using emotional language. So let's look further. Scott Field, who currently serves on the ACP Board of Directors, they wrote this paper. We can actually see the press release that they wrote. Now, the press release looks pretty official at first glance. Okay, so their concern is about premature ovarian failure, which is premature menopause, and they say that this is being caused by Gardasil. And as you read through it, there are citations here, so this looks like it's official, like it's been well researched, right? It's written, it's cited to the sources that it's talking about. When you come down here and you look at the sources, okay, human papillomavirus vaccine and primary ovarian failure, adolescent premature ovarian insufficiency following human papillomavirus, a case series seen in general practice. Okay, so what this means is that there are a number of patients that were seen with a certain condition. What I'm going to do, because I want to know more about this case series, is I'm going to search Google, and what comes up is an article in PubMed, and it's in a journal, which is clearly, a academic journal. It's hosted on Sage. It's the Investigative Medicine High Impact Case Report series in 2014. Okay, and as we read the abstract, we can see that this is about 3 girls in Australia, in rural New South Wales, who had onset of ovarian decline, and they all had the Gardasil vaccine. Okay, well, that's concerning. But what I want you to understand is that this is just 3 girls and this is just a case series report. So this is not conclusive proof. This is just something saying, hey, I noticed this and we might want to be concerned about this. So what I'm really interested in is in now, and I'm taking this a little bit farther than you necessarily had to in your project, but I just want to show how you could possibly go about continuing to look into this. So, and decide how you really feel about the conclusions here. Because clearly this isn't based on nothing. This is a concern that's based on things that have been seen in real life. So, maybe the American College of Pediatricians has a point. So what I'm going to do is search this article, and then I'm going to see all of the articles since 2014 that have cited back to this article. So what's the research look like now? So I can see that in 2016, an article was published, Quadrivalent HPV Vaccine Safety Review and Safety Monitoring Plans. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit more, learn a little bit more about how the authorities are planning to monitor the safety of this vaccine. So they obviously have talked about POI because they cited the article I was just looking at about POI and ovarian failure. So what I'm going to do is Control F. What I have to do first is I want to look at the full article, so I have to click full article. Then Control F, POI. Through the media, reports of primary ovarian insufficiency have been publicized after receipt of, this is the Gardasil vaccine. POI has been associated with myriad etiologies. That means different sources of the disease. So it could be caused by autoimmune, genetic, enzymatic, infectious, inflammatory, and even idiopathic causes. So we don't know what's causing it. Review of VAERS data. VAERS is the Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System. So if somebody gets a vaccine and they have an adverse event, their doctor reports it to this system. So we found out that 80 million doses have been distributed of Gardasil. 9 reports of POI have reported after this 80 million. And an additional 10 are with a related condition. So 19 overall out of 80 million. Among these reports, there were no consistent patterns, and the review produced no evidence to suggest a causal association between the Gardasil and POI condition. However, out of an excess of caution, the Vaccine Safety Department is conducting a study to address this issue. So we can continue further on, and we can look at the study that they're planning to do. And actually, I was able to pull this up, which is a PowerPoint presentation from the CDC talking about post hoc analysis, whether it's causing spontaneous abortion. To me, this shows me that they're taking safety concerns of Gardasil very seriously. They're following up on them, but that right now they're not seeing a causal link. So this is evidence that seems more trustworthy to me because they actually are talking about research that was done. This is not to say that all research that is done is completely reliable. However, this gives me a lot of confidence that people are in fact taking these reports seriously, looking into them and looking for causal links. It's impossible for me to know what's true from all of this evidence. However, I would strongly favor an article written in an academic journal and has clearly been reviewed by experts over someone who has a politically motivated statement to make, who believes in alternative medicine and that the establishment is evil, so is going to use the scary language and cherry pick evidence to convince me that vaccines are bad. So when you are reading something, these are the red flags that you have to follow up on. Who's writing it? Where is it hosted? What evidence does it cite? And is that evidence cited appropriately, or is it being twisted? And so that's the kind of work that you can do in order to determine how you feel about a certain argument that's being made in the news or in something that you're reading. So I hope that helps. Please don't hesitate to contact me if you want to discuss this further. I'm happy to have any of these conversations. I hope it's been clear that I'm not trying to tell you what's right or what to think. in this video, just showing you things that you can look at and that can help you make a decision about whether you consider a resource to be highly reliable or not. Okay, so I hope that's clear, but I'm happy to meet with anybody or talk more about this at any time.